And I'm so happy that you're like the only person that didn't clap when I did that, because you know from being a
I know what you're
director
doing.
what I'm doing. Everyone else is like, yeah. And
What are you
I just look
clapping
at them like, haha, let me make a joke about it. Like I haven't done it every episode. Do you know what I mean? So I would like to start off episode 7, I believe. I've done so
My
many,
favorite number.
so many that I don't even know. And introduce my guest today. My guest today is a good friend of mine who is also very into the whole, what would you call it? Entertainment business? Would it be classed as entertainment, or is directing and filmmaking?
Filmmaking.
Or do you look at like entertainment? I'm not a comedian, dude. Like, I'm not one of those lonely
Well, it is
people.
entertainment, really.
Yeah.
It is entertainment. Education to
Yeah, it
entertainment.
is, but
no,
it's
I
like,
mean,
yeah.
entertainment. But yeah, I would say more so specifically filmmaking,
Mm.
more so specifically the moving picture.
And do you feel like, obviously being an award-winning...
I just can't take it seriously.
Yeah, exactly. No one can. It's really, you should see my mum trying to raise me. It was terrible. Yeah.
You know.
Do you so with the obviously you've won a lot of awards, and I want to talk about that first, just so it looks like I've actually got some decent guests coming on, as opposed to just one of my friends from who's my next door neighbor, and I'm like, dude, say something funny. Do you know what I mean? So
6 other people, I wouldn't let him.
Sure,
I wouldn't
sure.
let him live that down. Honestly,
they all know who they are and the low qualities they have brought to it. No. So
I've
tell me about
seen
these
the
awards.
episodes. They're amazing.
Tell me about these awards. How many awards do you have?
Is that for acting or directing?
Funny you should say that, because I also have a multitude of awards that
Let's
we can
talk about
too.
your awards.
Let's do an award for an
Sure.
award thing. So give me your first award for this
My
award.
first award was for my very first play that I directed when I was 17.
Wow.
I had to win. I had to compete to be able
win.
to direct that.
Okay.
Compete to win, yeah.
What, like kind of like
to make the play.
Blue Peter. You kind of like sent in a thing saying,
Exactly.
I want to direct this. Also, can you tell Santa
And
that
I
I
was,
want
stamping
I want
my
a PlayStation
feet
for Christmas?
and,
Yeah.
and then the teacher was like, all right.
And what award was that? What was the award?
So it was really, the award was really being able to direct a Shakespearean play at 17. Wow. So that was the award. It was scary as hell.
Do you like Shakespeare?
I love Shakespeare.
Yeah, but okay, I'm going to say something that's really weird, but correct me if I'm wrong. But do you not feel like Shakespeare, like Quentin Tarantino? Because a lot of people say that Quentin Tarantino is a modern day Shakespeare in a way where he would steal other people's stories, add a couple of to it, and then be like, this is mine. Look how great it is. Or do you find that a good thing that somebody can use someone else's and then make it better, which is essentially everything that's ever happened in life is that, isn't it? Right?
Exactly.
You've got one caveman with a stick like that doing it, and then another guy goes, puts 2 sticks together, and then there's like the fire
And
came
then they
out.
start
Yeah,
with stones.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, I don't know with stories and storytelling if there's necessarily an original story.
Yeah.
But there isn't, there are original ways
Apart
of telling
from
stories.
Wolverine's origin story.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not just that, but there are original stories. But I mean, if you think about human emotions, they're universal. So the stories that
They've just
are
always been
based around, and I think the thing I like most about Shakespeare is that all of his plays are still relevant today. The character types, they're all relevant. Yeah, fair enough, they don't speak in Shakespearean.
Yeah, they don't speak in a language that nobody understands. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that's your first award, and I will raise you that award with my 100 meters swimming badge.
Oh, and how old were you then?
8. So if you take away, how old were you when you had your awards?
Hold on. If we're going to go that far back.
No, wait.
My
You had your first one. No, you had your first one. That was yours. And yours was when? You were how old when you got that award? How old were you when you got that
17.
award? Okay, so if you minus,
But my first
minus the years before that, and considering I was an 8-year-old, I was leaps and bounds ahead of you.
Hold on.
That, right?
My first award
Can't go back.
was an acting award, and that was when I was 8, actually.
I'm going to edit it out. Okay, so again.
He can't cut out the fact that I won an award when I was 8. For acting.
Okay.
I won an award when I was 8.
I've been acting like a decent human being since I was about 2. So does that count?
I'll ask your mom
if everyone knew
I
what I was
remember
really
meeting
like.
you. I don't think you.
Right. No, I missed that day. I was taking a day
I don't know
off.
how Yvette and the kids.
Okay.
But yeah.
Second award.
I don't really keep count like that.
Oh, there's so many. That
It's not about that.
No, yeah.
But I don't.
What's
So
the biggest award?
my second award would be for my first film then, which I wrote, directed, produced, and starred in.
Wow. I mean, that's kind of like a
and that
Sylvester
won me a
Stallone Rocky
job.
story, right? I'll give you the script, but only if I can act in it.
It was kind of like that.
Was
but
it
then
kind
I
of like
also
a proviso?
directed and produced it
Yeah,
and
so
did everything else as well.
They probably didn't even know
I
you
did
were acting in
wardrobe.
it. You just like in the background just did your own scenes and then just added them in at the end, and then they were like, "Oh, you're in this movie."
Well, it's funny because when the film was shown, because I looked so bad in the film, because I wanted to look. I mean, she's a really beat up person. This woman in the film. When the film was shown, people were like, "Oh, you directed it." I was like, "No, I was
that was me."
That girl. They're like, "What?"
Yeah. They couldn't even recognize the difference, right?
Yeah, I remember people are like, "Sex sells, honey, not violence."
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like,
"Well, I just showed you, right?" Yeah,
exactly.
And what award was that?
So that was best film. I got best film. That was a Sydney Film Base award. So I got best film in 2004 and also 2005 for the same film. So I was really, and that was my first
that's kind
film.
of like you got a second award for the same thing, so it doesn't really count, right?
Well, it was competing against new films, and it still won, so it does count.
I don't think it really counts. That's kind of like me saving someone's life and then saving
Twice.
someone's life again, and then they'll be like, "Dude, I'm trying to commit suicide. You're ruining this for me." Do you know what I mean? Okay, so I will raise you with my Cub Scouts orientation badge, which went on my sleeve of my Cub Scouts jumper.
8.5?
No, I was 12 then. I'm not gonna lie. I was 12, but I could pretty much find my way around the forest anytime. So if you, again, go through the awards, I think that mine's more useful to a dangerous situation.
Well, why are we talking about dangerous situations?
I don't know.
I mean, how useful has it been? How useful has it been in Dubai for you?
No, it hasn't been very useful anywhere, to be honest. But I feel like I do want to kind of like parachute into a forest and try and find my way out and see. But it was a long time ago, and I did have other Cub Scout members with me, so I don't know if I can do it by myself.
Exactly. Actually, you should. Maybe one of your podcasts should be
just in the forest.
You
like one of the
by yourself.
Can you direct it?
Yes, in the forest.
Did you know one of those up the nose like bogies coming down? Like I can't find my way out. No, I'm gonna.
With a lighter that
I'm
won't
actually
turn
gonna pitch you one of my movies later.
Do it now.
No, because I haven't thought of it yet. But I just know that I want to be in it, and I know
well, the
I want
first
to be
thing
paid
I'm going to
for
say
it.
is, do you have funding?
No, I want to be paid.
Right.
I don't really want to be an actor, but I'm trying to find any way to make money in this current climate. But
everyone, not just you. It's really tough.
So you were, I believe the correct song is, "I come from a land down under, where booze flows and men chunder."
You're really good at that.
Right?
Give me 2 sticks.
Yeah. And also we'll put the bishi bishi mau mau, bishi mau mau mau.
Wow,
bishi
you
mau,
are
mau.
so. How long have you
Black
been
Cats.
researching me?
I haven't. I've just, to be fair, I think it's starting to show in my podcast that I don't do any research because people, go back to, that guy was an astronaut, right? And you just talked about wiping your ass for the whole session. So it's like, I think I need to do more research.
Yeah, that's why I kind of wrote you this morning and I was like, listen.
Don't say this. Don't say that. Do say this.
It just, remember, I'm a filmmaker, not a nurse.
But do you class yourself? Are you a teacher?
No.
But you did teach film, though, didn't you?
Well, I did, yeah. But I think, as my dad says, he said that filmmakers, storytellers are generally teachers.
Teachers, yeah, because,
you're not a teacher in a classroom, but
classed in very high regard. Like if you go back to the days of the whole, the villages and all that stuff, the people classed in the high regards are the people that used to sit around the fires and teach the stories and kind of like teach, because you have such an impact. Yeah, I was going to go to that. I just totally forgot the name of the...
Dancing around the fire.
And they kind of like grew up learning how to be decent people and strong people and that by the stories that have been passed on by the ancestors and that have been told around, right?
Yeah, because when you retell a story, you learn more about the story. So definitely those stories were very moral based. You were kind of, teaching the younger people in your clan about ethics and morality and religion and God and the universe and everything else, which we kind of do anyway. I think all forms of art is really just understanding ourselves, understanding the world, understanding what God or universe or cosmos is to any of us. So, and I think that's what I mean about universal. And when we were talking earlier about that universal language, that because I've made films in languages that I didn't speak.
Yeah, I know. How was that?
It's so funny because now if I watch back the rushes, those people were talking to me in their language,
Yeah.
and I was replying in English or Farsi, and we could understand each other somehow.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of that universal language. Humans, we have, basic needs and emotions and feelings and struggles, and we all have them.
And we all have them. Yeah, that's what I was mentioning in the other podcast. Whatever you think you're going through, everyone is going through.
Yeah.
From insecurities to needs to wants
I don't have any
to everything. No, of course not. You're an award-winning film director, artist, writer.
That's right. Actor.
Blogger, actor. Crossfitter. Yeah. So how was it? I mean, I like to kind of go into the whole, because I get a lot of people that are from different backgrounds, like myself, raised in a country which is obviously isn't the country that they're from. So how was it growing up being Iranian?
In the land down under.
In the land down under.
But being a pishy pishy
If you hear the sound of thunder. Yeah.
Oh my God, we're actually making a mix.
Yeah.
It was good. I mean, it was definitely two different worlds.
Were your parents like really
my parents
Iranian?
were my dad was quite a tough man. He was very strict. I mean, he was a very open person in terms of, we're Muslim, but we went to a Catholic school. He wanted us he wanted us to get the best of that world. He didn't want us to just go and work at McDonald's.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I had to fight for my first job. I was like, Dad, it's a doctor's surgery.
Exactly.
And I already had OCD, and the doctor made me worse. So he made me COVID-19 prepared from when I was 16. Honestly, because we used to sterilize everything literally. But
your dad was a proper old school Iranian.
He was definitely old school. I mean, when I was in Iran, for example. But when I was in Iran, I refused to hang out or be friends with any expats. Because I really just wanted to get down.
That's the way, right?
And it's weird because when you're, when you're someone like us, when you're back home, whichever home, you're still a foreigner.
You mean like better than other people?
Yeah, of course, the top 3%.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, in Iran, I was Australian. In Australia, I'm Iranian.
Did you have a Australian Iranian accent, or was it fine?
Never.
Yeah.
I never had. No.
Yeah.
No. Australian Iranian accents are really strange because because the Iranians pick up some of the stuff.
Yeah.
So they go, hi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hi, Nastaran.
Yeah, exactly. I totally understand
hi, Hassan. So, but no, I didn't, because I mean, we were pretty young. I was 6 years old when we went
to Iran.
To Australia.
Oh, okay.
And then when I was about 23, 25, I moved back to Iran.
Okay.
And I made that decision because I was in LA and I was going to go back and go to UCLA.
And you were already doing
I was already doing filmmaking, yeah. Okay. I was pitched a few scripts to act, short films, nothing like, but I mean, it would have led to, if acting was definitely what I wanted to pursue, then I'm sure that would have led. But I don't know. I needed a jungle. Yeah. I needed to be in.
But also, why did you prefer the filmmaking and directing to the acting? Is it that you felt that there was a lot more kind of self-expression and a lot more of you in it? Because I'd imagine that acting, you're kind of using someone else's joy and thoughts and something else to bring forward, as opposed to when you're directing and filmmaking, it's your kind of soul that's coming out of it.
Well, I mean, if you think acting's a beautiful thing, I think if you think about acting, when you are a good actor, and everybody can tell a good actor or actress from a bad, and it's always, to me, it's the one that understands the method that works for them. And many, many times when you're acting, there's a huge part of you in that character. And this is, when we think about victim and predator, for example, we can always, any of us can be a victim and a predator. And we, we've just, I recently watched something that, was victim and predator. But when it comes to acting, there's always a part of you in that. And it's a beautiful world and I really liked it. What I didn't like about acting was being chosen. And I didn't, the path to becoming an actress was something that just didn't mesh with me, didn't sit with me. And I started directing so I can act in my own stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So then you could choose,
And then once I had a taste, of, you know, this world that I can create, because I used to write stories from when I was 5 or 6. So I was actually already
into the
writing.
whole,
And, you know, the whole Barbies and everything, for me, it was all just mini films.
Yeah, exactly.
So every day I'd make like 3 or 4 different films.
Yeah.
And I could sit there forever playing Barbies because it was just storytelling.
Yeah. It's so important. I mean, I did the same with my son when my eldest son was growing up. I would always give him a pen and paper and I'd be like, okay, I want you to write a story for me now. And, you know, we're not going to stop doing this until you have this story done. And then the next time I'd see him, I'd be like, okay, we need to write another story now, just to kind of keep his brain thinking and moving and thinking about different things, and also to kind of figure out where he was at. Because through reading his stuff, I could kind of see where he was at what stage of life and how he was thinking and what he knew about, what he didn't know about, kind of thing.
Wow.
So that was the thing, yeah.
And my parents used to always tell me, stop storytelling, get real.
Yeah. Tell the truth, Pegah.
Yeah. They were like, this isn't one of your stories, you know?
And was it fiction that you used to like write?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I fell into documentary filmmaking because I stumbled upon a story which ended up on BBC World, and it did really well. And
your story.
Yeah, and everybody now knows me. Yeah, everybody now knows me as this documentary filmmaker, but that was my first documentary.
Filmed in Iraq.
Filmed in Iraq, yeah.
So that's nuts. It's like from Australia to America to then go to
Iran.
Okay, so when you were filming in Iraq, where were you living at the time? Where were you based?
So I was in North Iraq. Oh, I was based here at the time. Okay, so what happened was I went from Australia to Iran. I lived there, co-founded a company there, made a bunch of short films and worked with some really amazing, groundbreaking filmmakers. I'm not going to go and name them because that's just name dropping.
And I wouldn't know half of them.
But, you know, well, I mean, Oscar award-winning directors,
really?
Cannes award-winning directors, yeah. And one of the films that I worked on did really, really extremely well as well. And it was one of the films that I made in Iran that brought me here because it was doing the festival rounds. And
this was a stop in the festivals.
It was here. And I couldn't go to any of the festivals because I'd spent all my money on making the film.
Exactly.
I was like, I can't afford.
So this was all your own money that you didn't say, hey, I want to make a film. Can I get this budget for it? And
no, because that, to me, that took away a lot of my independence, because when you take someone else's money, you also take someone else's. I mean,
there's always a catch, or there's always at the last minute they'll be like, oh, by the way, also I want my daughter to act as this person,
right.
And also we should maybe change the script a little bit like this, and you're like, well, what have you got to do with
I love
anything?
how you got the accent as you work, because you know it's a Middle Eastern thing, you know.
Right? Yeah.
Well, it's not just a Middle Eastern thing, you know. The film industry is like that. So you know, I'd save up, and then I'd you know, or I would work with people who were going to give me complete freedom.
Is it really expensive? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Like how much, for example, if you're going to kind of do a documentary, because I'm sure there's so many people that are kind of into it and they would want to make a documentary like that, but they wouldn't have any idea of how much roughly this kind of thing would kind of set them back, or do we have a...
Well, I was a little bit lucky with this one because I guess, you know, when they say you're aligned with something, things just fall into place. When it's
supposed to be,
So when I decided to go to Iraq, it was because I'd read about the Yazidis. At that time, no one knew about the Yazidis. And I found them interesting because they were called devil worshippers. So I thought, this is cool. And then 2 weeks later, I was there. Now, just to backtrack, so when I was here at the film festival, so this one I could afford to come to because my family was here, and it was just, you know, Dubai and Tehran, not you know, very, very close. So while I was here at the film festival, Iran got a little bit there were these elections in 2009, and they were kind of really hard on dual passport people and the people in film or media industry. So immediately my dad took my passport. He's like, I know you. You'll be the one right there on the street, you know. So no, so he literally hid my passport from me. So I was in that sense I was stranded here because I didn't know anyone. I'd started I guess networking, but not intentionally. It was just because I was at the festival.
That happens especially in Dubai, right? Like you can network out of nothing.
Exactly. And you know, everybody's so open to wanting to be part of things
and be progressive,
and wanting to be progressive. And I mean, we're all here where everyone's out of their natural habitat. So we all kind of want to get more out of it. So we're more open to opportunities. But not me at that time. You know, I was
You're like, no,
very,
no, I have my way
well, I
on.
was very guerrilla. And that's why I didn't want to go to LA or stay in Sydney. By the way, I had an amazing job in Sydney when I decided to go to Iran, teaching filmmaking, making films, was already assistant directing, a whole bunch of things. And I was just bored. So I couldn't go to Iran. So I went to Iraq. Yeah. Basically. And then, you know, when I stumbled upon the stories and when I found these people, and I thought, I'm not going to recreate this as a fiction. This has to be a documentary. This is telling itself, you know, I'm kind of...
And I'll never get the chance to do it again, you know.
Well, that and also I kind of, you know, I think that when you're a storyteller, you're a flute, in Rumi's words. You know, you're a flute. Rumi. And and you know, things come through you. You don't always have to. And as a director, I think that a lot of people think that I am a control freak, and you need to be. But I think that there is a time and a maturity with kind of letting something go. It's like letting actors go and letting them do their thing, and just not cutting, just let them go, let them do their thing, because that's where the magic happens. And
there's a sense of like force majeure in it, right? It's kind of like act of God. Sometimes, okay, you're trying to go to do a scene somewhere, you get stuck in the middle of somewhere else, and then you're like, okay, this is the perfect place to kind of film this thing. Do you know what I mean?
And so one thing led to another. And so when I was filming over there for research, the research ended up being the film.
Wow.
Because when I looked back at the footage, and then when I got the translations and realized how many times my life was in danger, but because I couldn't understand what people were saying at the time, you know, and so I'm watching this footage back, and I'm like, I was going to die that day. And
you just
I had
think
no idea.
You're
I was
just
like,
can I get that lighting there? And in Arabic, they're just like, kill her now, kill her.
Exactly.
Put it in
and
the
I was
truck.
oblivious to it.
No
and maybe it was that saved me.
Because if you knew, you would have been like, all right, guys, let's get out of here. Kind of, you would have missed out on a lot of footage and stuff.
And I guess the thing for me was I meshed. You know, I looked like I could be Kurdish. So, and I didn't, you know, I mean, there were, oh my God. I remember once I was coming out of my hotel, and, you know, there were guys walking around like this. And I was like, what are they doing? And so I was just getting in like my, you know, one of the guys, one of the crew members, Peugeot, like small, broken down almost car. And there was like 4 of us, and we all just looked like nobodies. And we were going around to film like very close to where ISIS was actually, you know, an ISIS base. But because we look like nobodies, nobody cared. And these guys are out there with like headphones.
Yeah, you thought it was like ISIS car rental.
Honestly, it was like, do you want to attract any more attention to the fact that you are an American here in Kurdistan, you know?
Yeah, it's so true.
And that someone important is about to walk out of the building.
Right? That's nuts.
So you had all these bodyguards. And I had a bodyguard initially.
Really?
In 2009, with a gun and everything,
Well, I guess with all these awards, you kind of need a bodyguard now to
no,
stop
it was
all
just
these selfies and stuff that people were scrambling up on top of.
We didn't have selfies then. I think Facebook was just new as well, even. But no, it was because I guess. All right, so when I went there, I ended up being a guest of the Prime Minister. I had no idea. But my friend who was a filmmaker, a Kurdish filmmaker, who I had spoken to, was like, okay, this lady's coming. You know, there was a bus that picked me up, and I was like the only person on the bus. No one would talk to me because nobody spoke any of my languages.
And
so
obviously because no one else was on the bus, so nobody's really going to talk to you.
Well, the bus driver, and then there was a car. There was a pickup, and the guy, you know, he picked up my bag, and I saw his gun, and I was like, oh my
like,
God, what's going to happen to me now? And then, you know, they drove me to, you know, and he wouldn't talk to me, and I kept trying to talk to him, and I was like, so, you know, I tried in Farsi, tried in English, and he just would not converse, and I was like, okay, they're going to cook me, they're going to chop me up, they're going to eat me, and that's it.
But I hope it's after I release this movie.
Exactly.
But that's the beautiful thing about it. I feel like, I mean, I've always been one of those kind of rebellious people. I've always liked adventure. I've traveled around the world with a backpack and no shoes for like years. And
no shoes?
Yeah, I didn't wear shoes for, I think, 8 months. When I was traveling.
Where were you?
Just everywhere. Australia, Thailand, New Zealand, Fiji, Hawaii,
why no
Chile,
shoes?
Bolivia.
Is that like a thing?
Because I just wanted to kind of earth myself, because you know that obviously there's don't want to get into it, but you know there's certain vibrations that actually seep into your system when you're actually touching the
Of
earth.
course.
And you know, when you earth yourself, you connect yourself to a lot more than what's going on, which is why I try to always kind of not have shoes on, unless I'm wearing Adidas. Brought to you by Adidas, the best shoe in the
Unless I'm
market.
wearing these
Yeah.
shoes. Open toe shoes. What was I
And
thinking? God.
that kind of thing, I feel
But
like
that's
I
amazing.
love being in situations where, you know, where I'd be like, for example, my friends when we were in Brazil, you know, there was other people that were like, no, don't go to the favelas and stuff like that. And I'd be like, are you dumb? I'm wearing my board shorts. I'm not stupid. I'm not going to have a camera around my neck, but I'm going to the favelas and I'm going to go chill there for the whole day and make friends there.
Yeah.
And where other people would be like, you do realize that was the dumbest thing that you could ever do. But for me, it's like, no, that was the most alive thing that I could do.
That's it. That's
Do you know
what
what
it
I mean?
is. And I think I felt the most alive when, you know, when I realized that I had made the right decision to come to the Middle East. I had made the right decision to go to Iran, because I think in those 3 years that I was in Iran, it would have been the equivalent of maybe 50 years in Australia for me.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then so yeah, and then having the opportunity to go to Kurdistan, and then, you know, your mind just expands when you I mean, you meet people that nothing that's ever mattered to you has they've even thought about.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and I mean, these people, some of the people I met, they had nothing.
Yeah, and everything.
But they had everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's so true. And it's even with the whole languages thing, where people are always saying to me, why do you love languages so much? Why do you want to learn so many languages?
Yeah, you know so much Farsi.
Why do you want to be a polyglot and all that stuff? And I'm like, because what you don't realize is that when you speak another language, you have a different soul. So the Pegah
comes with it.
the
Yeah.
Pegah that when speaking Farsi is not the same Pegah that is speaking English. She has different mannerisms. She laughs at different things. She has a different personality. So when you're speaking Spanish, you're a completely different person. You have a different soul. If you're speaking Portuguese, or if you're speaking Russian, or if you're speaking whatever, it's a different part of you that doesn't exist in the English.
Yeah.
You will handle different situations. You actually literally feel like a different person.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing about
And that's the
kind
thing
of
about
mixing.
acting.
Yeah, and acting as well.
That's the thing about acting.
Yeah.
That's why it's beautiful, because there is always a part of you that comes with the culture of the
out.
person that you're. Yeah.
It kind of reminds
Just
you
to
of the whole
backtrack to the acting talk.
how different you are, but how the same you are at the same time. It's insane.
And to me, it was always difficult, because I always tried to merge, and I tried to find a way to be the same person.
Yeah.
And it was really difficult, because, as I said, my dad was quite, you know, I mean, I've never seen him call anybody by their first name.
Yeah.
He's always Mr.
Yeah,
You know, and so everybody also I mean, he's a
Yeah.
joker. He
Yeah,
has so much fun, but so, you know, kind of merging that person who wanted to be the same as her friends, and then the person who
same time.
couldn't,
Yeah.
because I was actually different.
Yeah.
And then the person who actually couldn't, because my
Yeah.
dad was so different,
Yeah,
or my
yeah.
mum was so different. So, you know, and to merge those, and you know, you meet these people who are like really old, and they're wearing like lots of bangles from different places, and they have all these weird tattoos, and you just think, man, that's messed up.
Yeah, right.
You know,
It's just like us with fridge magnets now.
well, that's it. I was like, when I was young, I was like, I don't want to be that person. But as I'm getting older,
Yeah,
I
you
think the
start to be
parts
like,
of my
the
soul
more
are
bangles, the
becoming that
better.
person.
Yeah.
I used to wear a lot of bangles,
me too.
not anymore.
I was traveling, I had beads from everywhere and stuff like that.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. And the beads are a dead giveaway.
yeah,
This guy's a
exactly.
backpacker.
Yeah, especially when you have long hair and like high ponytail and beads and stuff, and then you got a bit of a tan, and they're like, "Where's he from?" I can't really tell, but I know he's not from
Surfer.
here. Yeah, kind of thing. I did a bit of surfing in Australia.
I never did any
Yeah.
surfing in Australia.
I liked Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you go?
Started off in Sydney. We did Melbourne. We did Nimbits, believe it or not. Did Byron Bay, Surfers Paradise. We actually camped out in. So we got the truck with the camper vans with the beds up on the top and all that, and we were like, we're gonna just drive around the whole of
How
Australia.
many of you were there?
There was 2 vans and 6 of us.
Jesus.
Yeah, and I remember we stopped in the middle of nowhere, and we found this random bit of desert to camp in, and I remember looking up and thinking, I would never see anything like this again. Never in my life, in all of my travels, have I ever seen that many stars. Because now you look up and there's sky and then there's stars.
3 or 4,
Yeah,
maybe.
it's the opposite there. It's stars and then bits of sky,
Yeah,
and you can
it's
see the Southern
beautiful.
Cross, and you can see like the Milky Way and everything. And I remember sitting there, and it felt like a movie moment where, you know, the camera would be zoomed on me and then it would just fly out kind of thing, and it's just me standing in the middle of the thing. And it really was a kind of a big moment in my life where I kind of like, obviously being barefooted and feeling the sand underneath me, but where I felt so
Present.
present at the time. And I remember after that, we kind of, you know, stayed out, and then it was getting really hot. The AC broke in the car. So we were like, all right, let's just take the sleeping bags outside and just sleep on the floor.
Not knowing everything's there to kill you.
Right? And then the next morning, all we hear is, what are you doing, guys? And we were like, what do you mean? He was
he
like,
actually
get
said
in your
guys?
van. No, he said, fellas, what did he say? I can't remember. But he was
Guys?
like, well, you didn't sleep out here, did you? And we were like, yeah. And he was like, oh, no, you can't do that. And we were like, what do you mean? And he was like, there's about 15 different things that could have killed you last night. And again, not knowing that, sometimes ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
You know, because we had the most amazing kind of campfire sleep under the stars. But at the same time, there was scorpions and snakes and thingies. And by the way, I do want to go on record and say kangaroos don't exist.
You never saw any?
In the whole of Australia, in
Not
everywhere
even dead
we
ones
went,
on the side of the road.
not one.
Really?
Not one kangaroo. We went to the zoo.
Koalas?
We went to the zoo. And for some reason, the kangaroo enclosure was closed that day. So I think Captain Cook, or whoever it was that went there, saw a squirrel that was really close, okay? And then he assumed that that was really far. And because it was far, it's
I'm
actually
impressed
really
you know
big.
Captain Cook, by the way.
It is really big. So he's thinking it's so far away, but it's just there in front of him.
But you
so
know
he
that-
thought it was much bigger, and then he made up the whole kangaroo thing.
And everyone else just believes him.
Yeah, I don't
so
think-
none of us have ever seen
I don't think
kangaroos.
they
We just
exist.
think Captain
I don't
Cook saw
think they exist.
kangaroos.
Again, when you see those videos on YouTube, it's boxing gloves on squirrels, and they've just panned out.
yeah.
You know.
So the camera's there.
Yeah, right.
And the squirrel's there.
Yeah,
And the humans
and
are
they put
way
like they
back.
put like small trees
So
and
it's like
stuff,
a-
like
yeah,
little
yeah.
ones, so it looks like
Optical
that.
illusion.
Yeah, they have that. Now we didn't see a kangaroo, and I was so bummed. Like I at least wanted, as bad as this sound, I wanted to be in one of those road trip stories where we're driving 100 miles an hour, and then, you know, a kangaroo just jumps and
I thought you said-
headbutts the windscreen, and then just runs off, kind of thing. Because you know, a lot it happens to a lot of people, right? Just all of a sudden, psh, out
Yeah, I
of
can't
nowhere.
believe you actually drove around and you never saw kangaroos.
We went everywhere. We stayed
I
in
thought you
so
said
many
you went-
different types of places in Australia. We even stayed in King's Cross as well. And I remember this was like 10 years ago. So I remember getting there.
Only
and
10
then-
years ago?
Yeah.
What was King's
10 or
Cross like
15?
10 years ago? 15 years ago.
I'll tell you what it was
King's
like.
Cross.
Yeah, it was King's Cross. I remember
15 years
getting
ago, it
there
was King's Cross.
and looking around, and we were staying in the dirtiest backpacker lounge. And I was like, and all it was is just club, drugs, people on the floor all over the place. And I was just like, yeah, this is a bit weird here. Like,
Yeah.
they're a bit open here.
Yeah.
But again, it's experiences.
Don't you have a King's Cross in London?
We have. It's pretty similar.
Pretty similar,
to the
right?
ongoings that what happens there, but I think it's a little bit more upper class than the
King's Cross.
Yeah,
Well, I think King's Cross now it's changed
now
a
it's
lot.
my friend's living there. Yeah, now he moved to there, and he's like, it's a completely different place.
It's a
It's been kind of like
completely different
gentrified and all that.
Yeah, so they introduced all these curfews
Mm.
and stuff. So back in my clubbing days, we used to
Yeah.
go home at 8 in the morning. You
That's
know,
nuts, right?
now it's like what
Yeah,
2:30.
that's like Fabric and Egg in the UK. It just carries on going the club all day,
Yeah.
every day. Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah,
and,
not that I was ever into drugs or anything. I actually wasn't.
It was
ever.
weird because
I'm not into.
I would do that, like Reza and all those guys. I would go clubbing to them, to the clubs that are like Egg and Fabric, that are literally like 24 hours.
Yeah.
And they'd club for 48 hours, and I'd do the same. The only thing is I wasn't drinking. So,
Right.
but because of the whole energy and everyone's just all over the place, you
Yeah.
know, I wouldn't even realize I'd been there for 2 days kind of thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then get back, and then they'd wake up the next day and go, and then I'd be asleep for a week after that, just kind of recovering from the whole thing,
Yeah.
which is so cool.
I used
But
to pop Barocca.
Really?
Everybody
Did
was
that get you
popping
going?
drugs. I was popping
Yeah,
Barocca.
just watching it
I was
fizz in
like,
the cup
vitamin
and stuff.
B6,
Yeah, yeah.
vitamin
With
B12.
people looking at it like someone's put something in her drink, it's fizzing.
Yeah,
Fizzing.
exactly.
Be like, no, that was
I
me,
was
that
like,
was fine. Yeah, that was me. Yeah, I love that. And the whole kind of like, to go back to what we were talking
not
about
to
before.
judge anyone who
No.
does anything. I'm just
But
saying
you're just-
that was just
basically
me.
the point that we're making is you're wasting money because you can get the same high off Barocca that you can off,
Exactly.
of any of the stuff that you're doing.
Barocca and sparkling wine is perfect.
Talk to me about the whole that we're going to get feminist now, and I want to talk about all the different types of feminism because I got some qualms with it. How was it being a female director? And you can go from each country to each country, but obviously it's well known that in a lot of things, but especially the film industry, that it's a man's world, and it's a kind of like friends and buddies and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think the first thing for me was that so in either of the countries, I didn't know anybody really. I didn't grow up in a filmmaking family or anything like that. My parents, businessman and teacher. So I didn't have that. So in Australia, you know what? That might get really boring. I don't know. It's probably really interesting to you and everyone else, but it's not to me. But for me, I never really saw myself as a female filmmaker. I didn't put that female or woman filmmaker or anything, it was everyone
so
around me.
So should it be?
Yeah, it was everyone around me that was like, oh, as a female director, I'm like, as a what? And then everyone's championing me for being a female director. But I never.
But you wouldn't, because you are you. And this is the thing that carries all the way through life. Like, you don't wake up in the morning and go, I'm Iranian.
a woman. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or I look like this.
Yeah.
Or you don't think about it until somebody tells you and you're like, oh yeah, I am Iranian. Or,
it's something about that ignorance that we were talking about. I think that
of how it should
you
be.
dictate the way that you're treated by feeling a certain way, whether you're conscious of it or not. So I was never conscious of, I remember I was on a job and the job was in a club and I was camera assistant.
Yeah.
And because we were in a club, I was wearing heels.
Yeah.
And so I was, climbing up the wall, kind of, hooking things up to, there was like an electric outlet there and there was nowhere else that we could, put the lights and stuff like that. And people were like, what's she doing? But that to me, that was normal.
What's wrong with that drunk girl? She's supposed to be dancing on the floor. She's wearing heels and everything. Why is she getting involved?
Because it was normal to me. I never saw it as, I better not wear this and look like that and do this.
So but other people around you.
It was the people around me. And then I did see the struggles of a lot of people. And I did struggle. And I did, obviously you had to work so hard for my crew in Iran, my first crew, to trust me.
Yeah. Because not only were you a woman, you were also an Australian woman.
I was a foreigner. Yeah. And so they thought, she must know the producer really well, or she must come with a lot of money or whatever.
Or where, because you have that passport, like people, especially when I go to Arabic countries, when they know that I'm a British, I have a British passport, they either think that I have a one-up on them, or they think I have a one-up on them.
That's right. And then there's the whole inferiority complex. So I kind of had to deal with that as well. But then by the end of it, the camera guy who was, my DOP, who was the first to kind of question everything I said, came up to me and he said, you're the first woman that I've learned so much from. Yeah. And I'm really grateful for that. And I was like, first director.
Exactly. That's what I mean. You're like, good start. But try taking out the woman part.
Yeah. And that's what I said. And he said, well, what he said was interesting. He said, I've only ever worked with male directors. You're the first female. So apart from my teachers, my mom, and, a few other people, you're the first.
Authority.
And I said, okay, how do I compare to the men then? He's like, because you go in and you have to know exactly what you're doing. Because if I was a guy and I knew a little bit,
you could get away with more.
I could get away. And I'm very open. I mean, if I don't know something, I'll ask.
And and you're kind of expected to be able to prove that I am as good or not better than a guy.
Yeah.
Because,
But if I didn't know something, I'd ask. It is not, I didn't study the camera.
Yeah.
So if I don't know something, you're supposed to teach it to me. You tell me. I can see this. I'm envisioning this. Exactly. You make it happen. And to give people that authority over their work and to let them be creative and to do their thing.
Feel trusted.
They feel respect and then they do a lot better for you. But not everybody.
Yeah.
I have had crews that kind of thought, oh, okay, well, she doesn't really care about how this turns out, and then I'm going to have to draw the line. So really, when they say that when you talk to someone, they're not talking to you, they're talking to themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, the person behind the camera is
like
more important than the actual picture sometimes.
I mean, it's complicated. It's like the whole saying of the three U's. You know, the three U's. So there's the you that you think you are, the you that other people think you are, and the you that you actually are.
Yeah.
And which one kind of like is holding most value to yourself and all that kind of stuff. And I think personally, when it comes to this whole men and women thing, I think the world should just be like a giant The Voice stage. You know the show The Voice, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows who's making what.
Yeah.
And then when you look at it, you say it's good. Then you can find out after if it's a man or a woman or whatever. And if that actually makes a difference to you, then you and your own thing by yourself. But like,
I mean, I've had other filmmakers who are male filmmakers say to me, you know, this must be so much easier for you because you're a woman. You're a woman, you're young, you're this. And then they kind of come up with, 20 different adjectives,
right?
And then I'm like, but how?
What
I don't know so-and-so. I don't go play golf with what's his name.
Exactly.
I don't go to boys'
clubs. And,
I don't go to a strip club with my friends, and then we talk about my next film or anything like that. So it's actually not, it is, there is a struggle. But I guess my point is, the more we focus on the struggle, and I've had women criticize me for not writing about, if I'm writing an article or if I'm doing a podcast or I'm on stage or whatever it is, not specifically talking about the victim side of this. Well, because
why do I want to promote the victim side of this?
I mean, we know it's there, and there are enough. If there was no other woman out there talking about it, I would.
Yeah, the whole idea is to kind of like.
But I'd rather focus on
normalize everything to the point that we don't. Why are we having this conversation?
Yeah,
like kind of thing. It's like this shouldn't even be up for conversation.
Yeah,
because then that's taking away from the work itself, and it's now bringing all these other aspects and elements into it. And it's like, what's that got to do with? And especially with film, because if you watch something, what's it got to do with whether it's a man or if you're watching it? Did you like what you watched or not?
Yeah,
it's very simple.
Yeah. And I mean, in that way, it's kind of death of the artist, death of the author it was.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, the whole Me Too movement, I'm glad all of that happened, and I risked my life to tell a woman's story. And this is what, people don't understand. This girl was killed in public. There was 600-700 people there. They could have come after me, but that's because that was a story that I felt was important and I wanted to tell that story. But I'm not going to sit here and talk about my problems as a woman, as opposed to getting from A to B, which is where I want to go. So I want to go from here to there. I'm going to talk to every person that I think I need to talk to in order to raise this fund, in order to get this up, in order to hire the crew I need or whatever it is that I need to do, so that at the end of the day, you can sit and watch the film.
By the way, to get back to the film, did you have to get a lot of permission from the people to do this? Where did you come across any kind of obstacles where they were like, no?
Of course.
You're like, yeah, but I really think I can. No.
Yeah, of course. I mean, one guy was about to break my computer. He was like, I don't want you to make this film.
You were like, no, it's a new
authority. He was like, I'm authority. I will protect you as a person. I love you as a person. And this was in 2016. So I went to Iraq in 2009, the first time, and I shot half the film then, and then the rest of it in 2016.
That's
and I'm
cool,
shooting
actually.
more of it.
With it the same
now.
people?
Some of them were the same people.
That would be cool to see the difference in ages and stuff like that.
And also what they were going through. So in 2009, it was pre-ISIS, but it was post-Saddam.
Okay.
So they were kind of on the rise like this. And then in 2016, it was post-Saddam, just after ISIS. And a lot of women were still missing, and a lot of, everything was upside down. And people were saying, okay, we are suffering and you're here to make a film about one girl that died. And
you're never gonna get everyone. There's always going to be someone with something to say, and there's always going to be someone that doesn't approve. And
there were people that wanted to kick me out of their homes. There were people that didn't want to talk.
Can I just get some of that shawarma first, please, before you kick me out?
I'd just be like fishing, and I was like, but then you said you knew her. Can you tell me? I don't want to talk about this anymore. How do you feel about your religion? So I just kind of just keep talking to them. And there was one guy I mean, this is all going to be out in the feature film, which I'm working on now. But he dodged bullets from ISIS. So he was one of the people that, you know, they lined them up and
Wow.
And he was just, because he was a military,
He
knew what to do.
Yeah.
So he kind of just went, he went down first and everyone else just died. He was the only survivor.
I always thought that in
That's
that
what you would do.
situation, I would definitely just lie down and pretend I was shot. And then just scrape some blood off someone else and put it on me, or put someone else on top of me and just be like,
the things that he described, seriously, he was like, these were my friends.
Yeah.
And
it's insane, right? The things that we worry about.
Exactly.
Compared to the things that people
So when
go
you
through.
come back to a place like Dubai or anywhere, and people are talking about
like,
their
is the
first
AC on
world
for you enough?
problems,
Yeah.
I think emotional suffering is sometimes even worse than physical suffering. So I know that if something is important to someone, who am I to judge why this person is crying because she had a bad haircut? That might have triggered a lot of things from her childhood that I know nothing about. She probably doesn't even know anything about. So I don't judge people. But when you meet people like this,
you're just like, you're overdoing it a bit.
And you know, this man basically then crawls out.
Wow.
And walks for days, hiding.
At the same time, and still thinking about.
Still thinking about. So hungry, hiding, scared. He doesn't know where his wife and kids are. And somehow finds his way back to, you know. And, you know, he didn't want to talk to me. He was one of the people. So we went to this, you know, refuge camp, and he was like, I don't want to talk to you. Who are you? Yeah. And I was like, dude, are you serious?
Like, you're
He's like,
missing
you just want to get famous. And I was like, you think this is how to get famous for a woman?
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
You're like, this is kind of going to break me.
I was like, dude. And I got the mumps when I came back from that trip.
Wow.
Yeah, my system just shut down. It was so stressful.
It's just nuts. I remember when this whole, you know, quarantine started and stuff like that. So just before, my mum was here, and I was telling her, I haven't worked in a month. You know, it looks like it's going to be another couple of months. I'm not going to be making any money. And she looked at me and said, you really are an idiot. And I said, it's normal coming from my mum. Sounds about right. Yeah, I think that's how she says I love you. And she was like, oh, you know that? And
you poor thing. That's how she said. Or is that just what you think?
No. And she mentioned, you know, some family we know, family friends we know in Syria. And she was like, oh, you remember them? And they were very wealthy. And then she was like, yeah, they just came and, you know, took their house, threw them out, moved another family in, left them with nothing. She's got her 4 kids. Husband was killed. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. On and on. And I was like, let's go to the pool then, I guess. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Come on, kids.
Yeah, she was just like, your kids are healthy. Like, don't worry about these things. Don't let these things even come to your mind.
Because we need to be grateful.
You know?
We need to be grateful. I remember in 2009, I was on a fishing boat in Kurdistan, in a dam. And there was a boy who kind of looked like Jungle Kid. Yeah, he actually looked like looked like the Jungle Kid, and he was on a tire,
just floating by.
And he was actually, but he was pedaling with his flip flops, and he was fishing. Yeah, and that's how he fished. And to me, you know, I'd come straight out of, you know, yes, I'd gone to Iran, but Iran is not even what people think it is, you know. And I remember thinking, wow, we had fishing, you know, we had fishing excursions at school for fun.
And the initiative that he has as well.
Who's taking, this is their food and their income for the whole family.
And not just is he so using his initiative and being so adaptable, he's also doing stuff that a kid shouldn't be doing. A kid shouldn't be feeding the whole family and shouldn't be you know, having all the weight of everything on their shoulders, and he should be running and rolling.
Look
that
at
tire
us
and
making,
stuff, you know?
we don't know what his background is. He could have just, you know, his dad could have just not been around
that
day.
Right? Yeah. And he's like, I have the weight of the world on my shoulders.
Exactly.
What are you doing? Fishing.
Well, this is the beauty of storytelling.
Maybe he just liked fishing.
Maybe he just liked fishing. No, but I mean, he was fishing illegally. That's how I knew that this was definitely a family that
and he
needed
also looked
this.
like Mowgli, so I'm guessing that he was.
Oh, he was so
he didn't
cool.
have the other,
He was so
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, I mean, and
Did he have
there
any,
is footage of me
singing
going,
bears with him at the time?
no,
No. Baloo wasn't
maybe
there or
hidden in
anything like that.
the bushes
Singing the
somewhere.
Arabic version, like, bare necessities. Yeah. That's nuts.
So,
Go on.
yeah. So, I mean, I guess when you think about, you know, and I love Disney and, you know, I
Me too.
love
Any
fiction.
Disney song you can think of, I know every word to every single one.
Show you the
Shine, shimmering, splendid. Yeah, every single
Can
one.
you do the Little Mermaid?
Yeah, every single one. What is this? Isn't it neat?
Wouldn't you think
My collection's complete. You think it's a joke? I know every
And I used to
single
have red
Disney
hair
song.
as well. And
I know
everyone who knows
everything.
me is like, I know why your hair's red.
Thingy jigs, yeah.
Yeah.
I know every word to every Disney song
Ariel.
ever, like all of them. Yeah, I feel like
Yeah,
Aladdin
so-
was a brief interpretation of my whole life.
Yeah, I loved Aladdin. I remember walking out of that cinema thinking,
I remember watching that in the cinema.
yeah.
And I was just like, riff raff, street rat. I don't buy that. If only they look closer.
Can you do a little?
Yeah, all of it, all the genie's words, everything.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
But
I haven't seen the
Disney's-
new one. But so when you think of someone like me who was, okay, thrillers, science fiction, this was Disney, so everything sci-fi, everything new age technology, everything. And then I am there.
Yeah,
And these are the people I'm seeing. There's no way that you can recreate. I mean, you can recreate that, but why?
yeah, totally.
You know?
Yeah,
And that's when I decided that this needs to be,
be
a
done, yeah.
documentary.
Yeah.
And documentary is so difficult, man.
do you think it's harder
For
than,
me,
it's
anyway.
It's harder than filmmaking?
It's reconfiguring your brain.
And also because when it comes, well, whenever I say stuff like this, I'm totally assuming because
Can I
I don't
take this
have
off? It's
anything.
giving me a headache.
Yeah, you can take it off and put it down.
Oh, can I?
You just won't hear me anymore.
I can hear you, and I
Yeah.
can hear me. I mean, I always have this problem in shoots as well, by
Really?
the way, and in
Headphones?
editing. Yeah, the headphones just
It's
give
all
me
the hair. You just need to shave your head. Just go there bald, you know,
Give
wear
myself
some
an
beads and
undercut.
a bald head. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm assuming you can correct me because you actually are a filmmaker or a director, but I forgot the point I was making now.
I hope you can't hear me.
No. What were we talking about?
We were talking about the
Documentaries.
documentary.
Yeah. So with a film, you kind of know everything that's going to happen. You have all your script, you have all your bits, but with a documentary, you might not get what you want.
Yeah. And
So
you
that
get
could be
the
a real
opposite
issue.
sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in I'm Yazidi, I went to visit the family of the girl that was killed. And so I'm in their house thinking, okay, her brothers and her father, and how could her mother do this?
Yeah.
And, you know, how could they kill their own?
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, her brother starts speaking to me in English.
Yeah.
Perfect English.
Yeah.
Her other brother sitting over there is a dentist. His sister, her younger sister, is at university learning English and something
Wow.
else.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this is an educated family.
Yeah. How did this
Then the
happen?
mum breaks out and they had nothing to do with it.
Okay.
So here I am going to their
Thinking,
house.
okay, I have a whole different story now that I need to document.
Exactly.
Wow.
So that then changes the whole thing, because then you start thinking, hold on, they didn't make the decision to kill her. The community did. So it changes the whole film. It changes
That's nuts.
everything you think you went
Yeah.
there for. So that's the beauty of documentary, you know, because you are learning, and
You
the
went there for
audience
one
is,
reason, yeah.
you know, learning through you.
Yeah.
What you are also learning. And that's not to take away from all the things that can also happen in fiction.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is the beauty of
Yeah.
of writing something and then seeing it come to life.
And then when you show someone off and they're like, oh, I didn't think you were going to take this route. And you're like, I didn't think I was going to take this route either. This is not the way I planned it.
Yeah. And so,
It's being in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and you need to be open to that. So coming back to that whole directing and storytelling, you need to be open to, sometimes the story talks back to you. And the funniest thing that happened to me was, so this I'm Yazidi was a documentary about a girl, and I've never talked in another podcast about this.
Oh, exclusive.
Pew, 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 pew.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's about a girl who...
Wait, do this. Because you have just like one hair sticking out, and I know that you're going to be like, no, edit that out. And I'm
this
going to be
is
like,
me.
it's 50 hours of footage. I
that's
can't
cool.
edit that out.
Yeah.
There we go.
Done?
Now perfect again.
Thanks.
Yeah.
perfect again. So I was perfect before.
That's it.
So it's about a girl who basically suffers at the hand of her ancestry. And the first film I made that I got the 2 awards for that I was talking to you about was about a girl, a fiction film about a girl who's the last standing of a bloodline that needs to be killed because of the clan she belongs to. It's exactly what happened in I Am Yazidi. So can you imagine?
So it kind of became what it was, kind of
thing. So I mean, you know, did I tap into that?
Or
did I manifest this, or was this already written for me? Did I already know?
That this was
that this
that was the first step in a line of steps that.
And I made that film 2 years before she died.
Wow,
it's crazy when you think about.
Crazy,
so you know how they say when there's a writer and you see all these films about how the writers go crazy and they're actually the protagonist of that story they're writing, when they're the one that's killing people and stuff. Sometimes when you write something or you create something, you watch it back and you think, oh my God, that's me. That's completely me. This is talking back to me. This is my psyche. And yes, it sounds cliche, but it is, this isn't just a story I wrote. This is what I believe in. This is what I think about. This is what matters to me. These are my beliefs. So,
but then again, also when you're writing something, you're kind of metaphorically bleeding through ink, right? In a sense where...
What did you say?
Like when you write something, I find that sometimes when I write, I disconnect from how I would speak or what I would say. And sometimes when I write something, I'll read it back after and go, oh, I went a bit deep on that and I wouldn't have actually said that. Or I wouldn't have felt comfortable saying that in a conversation. But you write and you're literally kind of like bleeding through the ink. You're kind of letting out things.
Bleeding through the ink,
So you come out of a way where you kind of come out of your bubble, but are also protected by another bubble, which you don't know is there. That's kind of letting you really let out stuff that you really want to say subconsciously sometimes when you don't even know that you're ready to write that kind of thing.
It's like holding a puppet. You know, that
so
puppet can say anything and that everyone will laugh.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like ventriloquism, right? So it takes away the focus from you, and it's all about that extension of you.
The idea or the belief or whatever. So yeah, I think, you know, that's the beauty of, you know, but it's hard work. I mean, there's a whole business to what I do that's
yeah.
You know, and it's really painful. I mean, you know, I started my own company recently
called
Pegah.
So it's a really I feel like with all of your writing skills and all of your imagination and everything, with that one you were just like, I'm tired, man. Pegah, it's what it is, man. You're not gonna get it wrong.
Like, you know, I can stick to this name. I'm gonna have to anyway.
Did you find anyone else with the same kind of name? You had any issues with that kind of stuff?
No, I do have a cousin who, I know 2 people who have exactly the same name as me. Exactly.
But I mean companies.
In Iran, yes. There's Pegah's Milk, Pegah's Biscuits, Pegah Film, Pegah everything. There's so much. So it's a good thing I'm not there. But so just dealing with the whole, how's my hair?
It's very nice.
It's because you were,
it looks great.
I'm right.
Do you want me to get a flower?
So.
Wait, let me get back to that. What does Pegah mean?
Pegah means the light of dawn, so the light of twilight. So I bring light.
Nice.
I'm a projector.
And you also bring right with your writing.
Right with my writing. Okay. Human rights with my writing. Yeah. So yeah, and then, you know, there's the whole, you know, so you have this great idea, and then you can see it, and then you need a budget.
Yeah, completely different.
You need
as
people
just
to
being
believe in this idea. It's not just you and pen and paper. Or a stage and actors, or, you know, you really need a lot of funding.
It's a puzzle. You need to find all those pieces and stuff.
And you need to be careful because, you know, that whole business side can really kill your creative side.
Yeah. Totally. I always say that about being self-employed. It's the same thing.
Pardon?
I always say that about when being self-employed. It's the same thing. It's the freest thing in the world, but also
it's a sell.
Yeah. You know,
it's hard.
You know, and if you don't do the work, you're not getting any money, kind of thing. So it's fine when you're working for a company and then you're still getting paid when you're going on holiday and all that stuff. But when you're self-employed, it's like, oh, I can't take a holiday.
Yeah. And exactly. And you're working during your holidays. I can't remember a holiday I wasn't working at. And when, you know, this COVID-19 thing and everybody's like, oh, I wonder what my job's going to do. I'm like, well, I already know because my boss, who's me, already told me I'm fired.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah.
know,
That's nuts.
yeah, it is nuts. It is. It's really difficult, especially when you have clients that, you know, they need to speak to. I mean, there were times during shoots and stuff where even my crew or my, you know, production manager is like, okay, can I speak to producer Pegah, not director Pegah?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I'm like,
Right,
no, right now I can't be
right now,
producer
obviously.
Pegah. You know, it's difficult, but it's a really hard balance. And I think that any film, even the ones that flop, any film that gets made
You should get an award.
should be, well, at least, you know, given
The recognition that
the
it deserves.
recognition and the value that it deserves, because it's hard. Films are not easy.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to edit this 1 hour of footage and it takes me like 10 days. So yeah, I totally understand.
And stuff like this is the hardest, by the way, because it's not always exciting.
Can I have one of your awards, please, for that?
Absolutely. I'll give you a Pegah award.
Yeah, right. I do want to get back to that whole, you know, femininity and masculine, toxic masculinity and stuff. And I don't think
Can I
people.
have some water?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Benga, could I just get some water, please? Sir?
Sorry.
What I also want to discuss is there's a lot of people talking about toxic masculinity. There's a lot of people who are, you know, this men. But I don't think enough people are talking about toxic femininity.
It's interesting.
And people are going to be like, oh yeah. No, I understand feminism. I promote it. I'm down with it, and I know what's going on, and I'm a big, you know, proponent of it. But I feel like somewhere along the line, a branch of feminism has kind of veered away from we want to be equal to men to we hate men and we hate everything about men and we're better than men and do you know what I mean? And I feel like that's happening a lot, and not a lot of people are addressing that, because there shouldn't be any kind of toxicity on either side. It's very clear that we're equal. True. Okay, when it comes to certain things like, you know, physical strength, and when it comes to certain things like, you know, so many things that women can do that men can't do and men can do that. Okay, fine. But as human beings, as essences, as vibrational being, as bones and skin or whatever, we're all equal. But I don't think that anyone should be veering down that whole kind of like we hate men now. Like they're trying to push the whole thing to the point that it's not even about men. Just being but that's just because we're dicks. But it's not about just having equal rights, equal pay, equal opportunity. I feel like it's gone past that now, and there's a certain branch of it that's just trying to just see how far they can go with it.
Well, I think there's just years and years of pain and anger that are passed down, not just stuff that you experience yourself as a woman, but things you hear from your mom, from your grandma, from your aunties. And if you think about, a woman, okay, let's just take my world. So you're a woman on set. There are multiple things that you're juggling at the same time. It's not just that you're juggling, okay, the actors, the crew, the thing. You're also juggling the way that you're perceived constantly, because how you're perceived is how people treat you. Yeah. And there have been multiple times where I've been in meetings, for example, with really, really high rollers. You know, these are people you would not expect to turn around and go, well, you look really lovely today. Yeah. Like, why do you need to say it? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. But it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And it's the way you say it and the way you repeat it. Yeah. And, you know, I'm here to talk to you about something, and then all of a sudden you're talking about my shoe or my, you know.
Do you feel like that's what I want to hear? Or do you feel
I'm okay with that because that's just the way, you know, some people are. I'm a little bit like that. Like I might be like, oh, your hair looks really nice today. My friend's like, what? You didn't even hear anything I just said, did you? You know, so it's not. I'm not always going to sit there and take that as someone who's dismissing me as a person or a professional person or whatever. But if you think about the women that you're talking about, we are very sensitive naturally, right? Now, if you have all of these stories that have come to you for years and years and years and years and years, and then you've experienced, and like I said, with the film, Did I tap into that, or did I project that?
Yeah.
So when you grow up with that worldview, you naturally invite all those experiences back into your life again. So that hate just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So some women are coming out like that. I don't agree with it, but I do understand it.
But I feel like there's a lot of people that are also jumping on board
Yeah, it's a
to
cool
prove
bandwagon.
a point. Bandwagon as because they have nothing else to do. And a lot of them who don't actually go through this issue. But they feel like they want to be attached to something.
Yeah, like one of the women that criticized me for my article, she said, I was working on set and the lead actress's husband told me that I'm so hot and he would be blah, 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 blah. And you didn't write about these kind of things in your article. And I'm like, dude, go and watch I Am Your City.
Yeah, exactly.
And then talk to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because even though...
And you don't want to dismiss anything that they're saying, but at the same time, it's like...
Of course.
It's not the important part that I need to get across.
You're right. It's not about... First of all, I think... So back to your feminism point, I think feminism was important, was... that idea of, people burning their bras and, women coming out in the street and, bashing men with sticks and stuff, that needed to happen. But now if I start thinking that I need to fight for equal rights, that means I've already named myself unequal.
Yeah.
I believe I'm unequal.
Yeah.
So if I believe I'm not enough, I'm forever going to be fighting for that and I'm never going to get what's my right. But if I... there's a fighter, Ronda
Rousey.
Yeah. So she did an interview and, her and I might be very, very different people, but there's some stuff she said that I thought was amazing. They said to her that Floyd Mayweather makes so much more money than you. How do you feel about that as a woman? And she's like, I'm pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
And compared to him, I've had less fights and less wins. So I'm going to sit here and say, as a woman, I've got less and, I victimize myself. And I really appreciated that because once you start looking at, okay, I'm in the industry here. I could have made millions of dirhams making advertising money. But all the advertising directors, the ones that the companies go for, are usually male. Either they're from the UK or from South Africa or from LA or whatever, right? Yes, I need to fight for that. But no, I found a different way to make that. How did I make it? I co-found my own company. I had my own clients and I made some really groundbreaking stuff with the technology that was available to me. So I don't know. It's a weird subject, but if you accept it, then you're in the fight. If you don't accept it, you're your only competition. There is no other competition but you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I totally agree.
And I think that if I do understand those women and they have the right to feel that way because from the time that you start becoming a woman, see, that's the thing that a lot of men don't understand because they haven't felt it. When you turn 13, 14, 15 and you start becoming a woman and people start looking at you differently and treating you differently. And then, all of a sudden,
you're the cool girl because
really hot in that dress. I used to think, what the...
Yeah.
Hot? I don't want to be hot. I'm
you tripped me up the other day. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. I'm like, I'm cool. I'm not hot. I remember, thinking, oh, wow, people see me differently. And then your mother has the talk with you. And then your father has the talk with you. Then all of a sudden you realize you're an object of desire. Then all of a sudden you realize that you need to act differently or dress differently to what you used to because now you have, different body parts of people.
Yeah, exactly.
So you grow up being very aware of these things. And then there's all sorts of sexual abuse that go on in the world. There's all sorts of emotional sexual abuse that go on in the world. And a woman or a girl is usually, exposed to that a lot more than a young boy or a young man would be.
You'd be surprised how many young boys are abused. It's an interesting conversation.
I think that if those men, were to come out and turn into, those boys ended up turning into serial killers who kill like priests or something. That's when you kind of look at it and go, well, you know what, this is a cry for help, and this needs to be dealt with. What what women didn't have was an outlet for a very, very
come
long
out,
time.
Yeah.
So then if you think about, if you compare the
And even then, when the
priest
outlet came out,
killing-
it was kind of like, oh, in the entertainment industry. It's like, okay, what about all the rest of us that aren't in the entertainment industry?
Well, that's because, I
And you
mean,
guys are talking
there's
about,
more view
Yeah.
of them, you know, because they're in front of the camera, literally.
Yeah, but
You know,
surely-
if we could then go into the medical industry, for
Yeah.
example, or go
Yeah,
into,
nurses and
you know,
doctors
oh my God, the Navy,
Yeah.
you know, the Army, that
Yeah.
there's just so, but they're not in view and they haven't come out and said, hey, my colonel did this, or, you know,
Exactly.
my sergeant did that.
And
or,
it's usually the kind of backwards in the whole kind of defend the person in authority. It's still in that kind of backwards
That's
way.
right. Exactly. So then, you know, once someone came out and said, this happened to me,
Yeah.
everyone else felt more comfortable. And because they're already in the limelight, you hear about it. But yeah, I mean, that.
And then they kind of think about it as, if that person who has that more to lose in a sense of judgment from other people is okay saying it, then surely I should be comfortable saying it too.
Yeah. And, you know, the other thing is, look, we live in a world where we all need to get paid. We need to eat. And a lot of the times, and this actually, I have a memory of this that I'll share with you. But a lot of the time, you kind of want to find a way to deal with it so that you can keep your job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So my way of dealing with it has always been just acting really stupid.
To pretend that
And then
you
kind
don't
of
notice
just
it's going. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I remember the chairman of a company was, I don't know why, because his wife was beautiful, or, you know, there was just, but he was it.
But
he
you are
really
also
was,
gorgeous, my
I
love.
was young and beautiful, yeah. But anyway, so he kind of tried, and then I acted so stupid.
Yeah. Like, I
That
didn't
he was
even
like,
realize.
oh
Yeah.
my God,
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
a real dumbo.
Yeah, this is going to be worse for me than it is going to be better.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I kind of
Yeah,
just
I
acted
totally
really
understand
stupid. You know, he threw a few comments
yeah.
out. That I'm going to, what did he say? He said he's going to France.
Yeah.
I'm going to France and I'm going to be in Cannes and it's going to be all your kind of people there.
Yeah,
And I was like, I'll go there when my film makes it there. I
Yeah.
don't, you know, and, you know, and then I said, oh my God, you get to so pretty and your wife, and then I just started acting
Oh, your
like
wife's
a real
going to love that.
bimbo or whatever.
I mean, I get that
And
a
I
lot.
just acted dumb.
I do the same thing because being
course
an
you do.
object of desire, it's,
Of course. It must be
sometimes
hard
you have
for
to
you in
just,
the gym. How
sometimes
you
you have to just kind of like brush it off. And
and
pretend.
it's men and women. Is
Yeah,
this
right?
where the question
Yeah, I
of
still
being
can't figure out
sexually
what I'm
abused by
doing,
men?
you know?
Is it because every time you're in the gym, people try and brush
people-
up next
dude,
to you and
it's
stuff?
so funny, especially when I was at my best shape ever. We'd be walking in the mall and I'd be wearing a vest and stuff. And my wife used to say to me, do you know more men look at you than look at me? And I'm like, yeah, but it's not like that. It's kind of like
Yeah.
an admiration in,
It's
in
like
a
women look
physique
at
way.
women as well,
Because
yeah.
I look at men more than I look at women
Yeah.
when it comes to fitness. Because
And
I'm always
women-
comparing. I'm always like, I wonder how many reps he did to get his shoulders like that, or what exercises is he doing differently to me, or yeah, he looks really good. I need to sort myself out because you can see his obliques a
Yeah.
bit more better than I do,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
And so for you, is it more bodybuilding or is it the sport? Did you play another sport?
Yeah, I played football. Yeah,
I played
professional
football too.
Soccer or football?
Oh, soccer.
Yeah, soccer. Yeah, so I was
Soccer.
playing most of my childhood, and then I went to Croatia for 2 years to play there, and that was like, you know,
Croatia,
what I was into.
beautiful.
Croatia is amazing.
And they're very good football players,
Dude, they're good
aren't
at
they?
everything.
Yeah, they're very
I was
good.
surprised when I went there. Everyone was in great shape. Everyone did a sport, whether it was basketball or football or something.
Yeah.
Everyone. And I remember thinking, like, how are these people so fit? Why is it it's a country thing? It's not like a,
And you don't think that about them
yeah.
if you don't know them. But there's so many Croatians in Australia that
There's so many Lebos in Australia as well,
Lebos,
right?
yeah,
Lebos.
oh my God,
I remember
yes.
like
Let's
when
not
I
get
went
into
there, I said, someone said to me, where are you from? And I was like, oh, Lebanese. And they were like, yeah, don't say that. Because of all the gangsters and the Lebos that went there.
yeah,
kind
it's
of thing.
unfortunate. I mean, I have a lot of really good Lebanese friends, but the general
The Lebanese
rule
they're
is
everywhere, right? It's weird when you just see how far.
You should have said you're Egyptian. They would have treated
Right?
you different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and it's
like-
weird because Egyptians over there are so different to Egyptians over here.
Right,
How they're
everywhere.
perceived.
It's nuts. It's nuts. See, the world is a weird place.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like sometimes I look at life and I don't know whether it's because I'm extremely blessed with the life that I've led. I look at situations, I look at people and I'm like, you just don't get this, do you? Life is very easy. You don't have to have all this hatred. You don't have to have all this bias. You don't have to have, like, nothing bothers me. Like literally nothing bothers me.
I want
And
to ask you
sometimes
a
people are like,
question.
yeah.
So, you know, with all the killings that are happening in America, if you were to meet any of those police officers
Yeah.
who are killing people because they're black or whatever,
Yeah.
how would you feel?
What do you mean by
Would you not feel anger,
if
hate?
I was to meet them in a situation that was the same as them?
I
How
mean,
would I act
you know
towards
what
them?
they've done,
Okay.
right? And then you meet them, you go to prison, they're in prison or
Okay.
whatever,
Yeah.
you're at a party, at a gathering.
I
and-
will always have anger for people who take a life, because I don't believe that anyone should take anyone's life, because as important as my life is, I would hate to think that someone has the audacity to think they can take me away from my kids and not understand how important I am to the people around me and how much, and I do want to kill these people. But at the same time, I take the whole other kind of like, I really need to make them understand, and people say you can't, that's just the way they are. But I think that you can eventually,
film called-
especially if we're in jail, we're going to be there for a long time. So you better sit down and listen to what I have to say.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting question because
It's
I mean,
strange that someone could think that they could like
take the life of someone else for their own beliefs.
I was saying this
You
to
know,
my
they
wife
always-
the other day. I'm just going to interrupt you, but people who believe in reincarnation. I've seen people who believe in reincarnation.
I believe in reincarnation.
Okay, and do you kill cockroaches?
I have to.
See, doesn't
but
make sense
usually
to
I
me.
don't.
Especially if you believe in reincarnation, that you could be a cockroach, you could be a bug, you could be and I'd just be like, you just killed the guy, you just killed a person,
Well,
and this
you
was
know
their
what-
second chance at life, and you just killed them. So you
Well,
don't believe in reincarnation, not
You know
deep
what
down to your
Hindus
core.
believe though?
What?
I mean, they have this beautiful. If you see the Indians in general, jealousy doesn't exist like it does in other, especially Middle Eastern, because they believe if you have achieved something, it's because of your karma.
Yeah.
So if it's a cockroach,
Yeah.
that is a karma thing. I don't know, but it's karma.
No.
So
That
do I
cockroach-
kill cockroaches? No.
That
I mean, I
cockroach was
really
your
try
second,
not
that-
to.
That's
but-
somebody's second or third chance, and they're
Yeah.
loving being a cockroach. And it's the same as if you're going to
Yeah.
tell me that you're spiritual and that you're into reincarnation,
But
I
you eat-
believe
but you eat,
shouldn't
dead
kill anything.
animals.
Yeah, I believe you shouldn't kill anything.
Do you
I don't
believe
kill
in
anything.
reincarnation?
This is the conversation that we're going to have now, because this is how there's a segment in my podcast that I really want to, do with everyone, and I have been doing with everyone, and it's, the whole concept of what happens after you die. How do you feel about it? What are your perceptions? What are your feelings towards it? Do you think about it? Is it something that worries you, or have you
There was a
kind of
time that
accepted
I
it?
thought about it every single day.
I'm still there.
Many times a
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well, you think more about it because of your kids
Mm-hmm.
as well. That could have something to do with it, or have you always been like this?
Since I was probably about 13.
Someone close to you die?
I've had people close to me die, and I mean, my father passed away when I was 3, but I don't think that's. I've always had an awareness
Of death?
of death, and not just in a negative way, just since I was young, like yourself, I used to read a lot. I used to have friends that were so much older than me, and even when I was
Yeah.
growing up, I was saying in my last podcast, I used to play chess with 50, 60, 70-year-olds, and I'm like 20.
Yeah.
And I've always been that kid that listens when the guests come over and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff. I was never the one who would just be
Goes
like,
and plays
"Oh,
with the
no."
kids. Yeah,
I
me
would
too.
always be like, love
Yeah.
the kind of adult conversation and the depth of it, and that they're talking about more stuff than just, did you see the turtles last night,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Leonardo's cool. Okay, we've established that Michelangelo's the best, but
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And then you kind of move on.
And even in school, in history, and I loved sociology. Sorry, yeah, we have to get the AC off for the noise. I have to put it back
Yeah,
on.
for the, I know.
And yeah, so I've always been aware of stuff. I've always had kind of like an outward look. I've always been empathetic to situations, whether not just about death, just people. If someone was upset, it would really upset
Yeah.
me that someone was upset, and which is why I'm a clown all the time. Why I'm always
Yes,
making jokes.
Me too.
Yeah,
I'm a clown in my house.
Yeah, all
because
the
I
time.
wanted to make everyone
Yeah,
happy.
because I know people are thinking about death. I know people are thinking about their money situation. I know people are thinking about all these things. And if for that 1 second when you're with me, that
You're
you
having
forget about
fun.
all that stuff,
Yeah.
like I feel like that's my purpose.
Yeah.
One of my purposes is just give people some chill time and let them forget about all the issues that they're having about. You know?
Yeah. I used to, that was one of the reasons why I started acting, because I just
Yeah.
wanted to make people happy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So tell me what happens.
So what do you believe? Do you believe in reincarnation?
I don't think so. I don't think I believe in reincarnation into physical things. I believe that energy repeats itself. I mean, or moves on. I believe in the whole afterlife. I think life's too intricate for it to be a fart in the galaxy, and this is all here. Obviously, I believe in evolution, but I don't believe that we evolved from monkeys, for sure, 100%. Because there's never been a change in kind that we can ever date. There's never been something that's changed into something else. Even people will say, "Oh, the Galapagos Islands, the birds and the beaks change." Yeah, but they're still birds. They're birds with different beaks.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed. A squirrel didn't turn into
So you
a
believe
bird.
in Adam and Eve,
Yeah.
basically.
I believe that there was a beginning,
Yeah.
and I believe
Of
that there
human
will
life.
be and I believe that there will be an end.
Did you know there was another Eve?
I heard something like that. Yeah, I heard that.
Lilith.
Yeah, but I don't. I just think life's too intricate, and I like the whole aspect of not knowing.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the thing is, I
Like
think
smart move, God. Like,
yeah, because you like the bliss.
yeah,
The bliss of not knowing. No one really knows. These are just beliefs.
exactly.
And for me, I believe that energy continues. And I do think that, I do believe in reincarnation because I think that souls are different and some souls have been here before and you can have memories of past lives.
Yeah, I've watched a couple of YouTube videos.
And I think that, yeah, I mean, but you know, you should read a couple. I'll send you a couple of books if you're interested. But it's, yeah, I mean, I think it's too much of a wide and
if it's
intricate.
wrong, it's the greatest story ever told.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ever.
Exactly. But I mean, there is truth to it.
I believe
It's
there
just
is
how you
purpose.
feel,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
I mean, I was speaking to one of my friends, actually in LA, and you know, we were talking about everything that's going on, and he was saying, you know, if this is true, and everybody already knew about COVID-19, and you know, and it's something that was made and released or whatever, then that's really, really a bleak life and future that we're living. And I said, well, yeah, but deep down, he said, but we'll never know the truth. I said, but deep down, everybody knows the truth.
Yeah.
Deep down,
The point is not just that you won't know. There's nothing you can do about it.
If you're courageous enough to look, you will see some truths are really, really ugly. And as someone who's a Disney girl,
yeah, exactly. But it's the same thing with Disney. If you look at every Disney movie, the parents die, or there's heartache, or there's the
Little Mermaid actually dies in the real story.
There you go.
She doesn't live.
You see, there you go. There's always like
death. There's an end, but you know,
a beginning or an end, or
and rebirth.
But there's always something that kind of teaches kids to deal with it from young, kind of thing. That it's a harsh reality of what life is.
Yeah, but I mean, do we then live our lives completely? You know, I mean, yes, I think that people that believe in reincarnation 100% maybe should be vegetarians. Should be, you know, but maybe this is the circle of life.
And it rules us so.
So, you know, I mean, I was watching David Attenborough series on Netflix yesterday. And man, these animals are so ruthless.
They're vicious, right?
Right? And it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I thought that penguin was really cute and now it's eaten by, you know. So... yeah, but that's the
but I feel like
life.
they're mostly in an animal world. This necessity.
Yeah,
they don't kill
whereas
for fun.
Humans are not like that.
Yeah, with douchebags. Like
sometimes I wonder, you know, I see people shooting dogs and killing cats and all these kind of weird things, and I think you're meant to be the human,
right?
You're meant to be the evolved one. You're meant to be the one with the brain.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
So if you're
supposed to be the protector.
You're supposed to be. Yeah, I mean, I've seen all sorts of weird things the last couple of days. No wonder I'm in such a deep, dark mood.
Right?
You know, I'm in such a deep mood, dark. But
are you ready for it?
I'm ready for what?
for the light switch off.
Go for it.
You're prepared. You've thought enough about death to kind of accept it, and it's no longer a fear.
You know, people ask me this. And I asked soldiers this who were fighting ISIS, women soldiers. And her answer was, death only comes once, whether it's now or later. People asked me as well when I was first going to Iraq and stuff like that. And when you say, are you ready for it? You're really asking, are you so attached to yourself and to your life that you can't let go? Because once you're gone, you know, there's this amazing series. It's called After the Good Place or something. And man, the afterlife is really fun. You would watch that. So, you know, am I ready for it? I think I'm mature enough to know that whatever happens,
like, so you've come to the acceptance.
I'm gonna make the most of it.
Because the thing is that,
but
people who don't think about it, that's the you know, I speak to some people and they're like, I haven't really thought about it, and I'm just like, really? Because I think that's something you should really have struggles with and accept it, and then come to a realization, and then you can you will live differently after that. But if you don't ever think of, you do.
No, I don't think everybody does. And then what do you say for people who take their own lives then?
The scariest thing in the world, I can't imagine.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, you know, that there are, you know, do you think about death so much that you forget to live?
No. I think about death so much that I remember to live.
Yeah. So maybe that's what works for you, but I don't think that works for everybody. I don't think everybody has the capacity for that.
Can I get an award for that? So
yes, I think you can
be
get another Pegah award.
Man, I'm like the leading Pegah award winner.
Yeah, I mean, I know some of my Aussie friends, you know, I remember, oh my God, you know, the first time I came back from Iran to visit, and then, you know, I'd seen so much by that point, and I'd only been gone a year. And I was working with this producer, and I asked him, have you ever experienced trauma? He's like,
once my beer fell over, but
my friend's cat fell off a chair or something really strange, you know. And I was like, wow. People live like this, and there's nothing wrong with it.
And then there's people that go through the complete opposite. Everything is a trauma. Everything that happens,
but there's nothing wrong with it. You know, I don't judge that. I really don't, because I think that, you know, different things work for different people. You like sport. Someone hates sport.
I think trauma makes you a better human being, though.
Trauma?
Yeah.
Not always. I think some people react differently to trauma, and they just become angry.
Yeah, and just that's the way they are.
Vengeant, and they just, you know, they think the world owes them something, and it's those people that need to be taught that, look, you can actually help others.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a level of, you know, it's different. Everybody takes something different. And humans are so complicated. I think about it, man.
I mean,
how you grow up, what your parents did, where you grew up, who your teachers were. Your soul is a completely other, you know, how you are physically, chemically, how your brain reacts to things. There's so much that goes, you know. Do you believe in God?
But yeah, for sure. For sure. Do you? Yeah.
Don't kill me, man.
Thank you, God. No, yeah, I really do. I just, the way that the body is made, the skeleton, how every single thing in this world is in exactly the right mathematical spot, and, you know, the Fibonacci spiral, and just everything is mathematically perfect. I don't think that could come from chaos. I just don't think it.
What did we just say about documentary filmmaking?
Okay.
Boom. So, you know,
there's a slight difference between that and the
evolution
and the veins in your body that if you stretch out will go around the world 18 times. And
yes,
but it's still.
Is that just because that's what we know? I mean, there are millions and millions and millions of creatures under the sea that we know nothing about, and they could be that you know, that
and I believe
organism
them
that
too were
stretches
also
and
made by God.
Yeah.
I do believe that it's just too intricate. The way I can put my finger like this and you're a blur, but then I look at my finger and my finger's good and that's a blur. And it's just. It's too
perfect.
It's too special. No matter what the camera, how good we make a camera, we can never make an eye.
Well, that's because you're comparing God to humans. Have you read Have you read Frankenstein?
No.
Please do. It's very much about God and his creation.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. When you read the book
read
by
that,
Mary
for sure.
Shelley, you'd be surprised. But anyway, so you know that humans can only hear and see to a very small frequency of
Yeah,
what
of
there
course.
actually is. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things going on around us that we can't
Yeah.
hear or see. But even that, you could say, it's perfect because that's all we're
supposed
capable
to
of
see. Yeah.
receiving right now. Our brains are not capable of digesting
We haven't
any more
evolved
than that.
mentally to that.
Yeah. But then
That's
when we
nuts, it's
evolve,
really- yeah.
then is that God making us evolve, or has God created us and put us here and is allowing us to evolve? You know, there's so many
It's just
questions.
cool. Did you know that when you go underwater, when you're in the bath and or in the pool, your
Yeah,
fingers
so you can
wrinkle up?
hold on
That's
so that
you
you
can
don't
grip
slip.
underwater.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
That's why I
dude.
think we're reptiles.
Yeah, dude, it's nuts. I just
And there
believe-
are reptiles. You
I
know, there are
believe- yeah,
reptilian humans.
I believe there's a reason for all of this. I believe that there's an outcome. I believe that.
Well, having thought about death so much, I think you should be a doctor in
Right?
this. So, what do you believe? Please tell me.
I believe in the sheer beauty and magnificence of life and what it can offer someone if they want to live it.
Yeah.
Because life's beautiful, dude. Like
Yeah.
everything, like, you know, even break it down to emotions. You know, when you're in a normal mood and someone smiles at you, but they're smiling in such a way that your body, whether you want to or not, the muscles in your face go,
Yeah.
and you have to do it.
Yeah.
Do you know
And
what I
it's
mean?
also the
And
reverse
it's like the energy.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like there's so many like beautiful intricacies in life that it's just like I find it hard for people to not appreciate being given the gift of life.
Yeah.
You know,
And also
when we're talking about the whole, you know, people go through trauma, there is also, do you want to get through this trauma? Because there's also millions and millions of people who have been through stuff that you would
I had
say
a really
wouldn't make
bad
them
car
better.
accident. I couldn't walk for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then?
That changed me when I went back to school
There
a
you go.
year after
And
that.
then
My
you
teachers
move-
were like,
yeah.
oh my God, she's actually
Yeah.
she's mature.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And
There are
and
people that overcome and even do more than they would have normally.
Absolutely. And at that moment is when you decide who you are and what you want to do and, what is going to get in your way. And, a lot of people said to me, if I was you, I would never have gone back to school. I would have just left it.
Yeah.
Your memory's gone.
Yeah.
Your body's, I was like 48 kilos.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I get what you mean, when you go through trauma and then you decide at that
Where do we go from here?
Who you are.
Yeah. How am I going to
realize who you are
Yeah.
at that point, And it's all those instances, all those situations that really put you to
That
the
make a
test.
difference.
And I mean, like it's really, maybe it's a shallow example, but maybe not. It's definitely a social experiment, like Big Brother. And,
Yeah.
just throwing people in a house and then how primitive
seeing,
you become,
exactly.
because
Yeah.
you forget that we are ultimately
animals, primitive.
primal.
And you see that when stuff like happens, like when you see these riots and people are running and smashing windows, fighting people on Black Friday for TVs and all that stuff, and really fighting over toilet paper and stuff, and you're like, just a little bit of struggle came into it and you turn into a bloody animal.
Well, I have an example of myself.
Yeah, you did it.
I have I love food, right? I love food. And I have a friend who every time I sit with her, she just eats so fast and eats everything that naturally I do the same.
I'm like
because I don't know, in the back of my mind, I think there's not going to be anything left for me.
Does she have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, 2 brothers.
Yeah, okay, that's exactly why.
Yeah, maybe.
Because what happens is when you're growing up, brothers are going to be munching all the food, and out of a defense mechanism for her to get some, she had to eat as quick as she could.
But the thing is, why am I like that when I'm around her? This is what
you
made
now
me
want your food, so your survival mode is going on.
I think everyone can be that. That's why I don't judge people, because you never know where they're coming from.
That's nuts.
And
Tell people where they can see all of your work.
I'm Yazidi is no longer available online
Really?
because now I'm
Because you're going to add to it.
I'm making the feature film of it
Okay.
now.
But can I have a copy?
Yeah, I can send you a private link.
Right.
But yeah, you can go to pegahghaemi.com. You can go to IMDb. You can go to MyFilmWorks, Vimeo, YouTube.
Everywhere.
Not much.
I noticed that because a while ago the last time you told me about it, I tried to look for.
Yeah, I didn't do YouTube.
There.
I decided it was a conscious decision not to be on YouTube.
Okay. And what about your future projects? Do you see a role for me in your movies?
I don't know.
I think I'd be
maybe
very
the
good.
Angel of Death.
I think create me that character.
Your eyes just lit
right?
up.
I want to be a character. I want to be a cool character.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll do it for free.
Okay.
And then pay me after
That helps.
for all my time.
That helps.
As long as you can promise me my next one after everyone sees it and goes,
do a
"Oh
barter
my
deal.
god!"
I give you a role.
Yeah.
And you got to do something for me. I don't know what. Maybe you train me
I'll
or
promote it on here. There you go. Here's the next movie. It's called Falcon Man. He's a kid that is raised in the desert, and then he finds when basically all these, missionaries come over and they try to kind of change his whole village and all that. He's the only one that's left, and finds out that he can control the sand and the desert around him, and he's the first superhero of Herb nature, and he goes through the whole stages of discovering himself and.
Don't release that. Let's talk about it.
There we go.
There you go. And that's going to be you.
Yeah,
and that's going to be you. And your kids can play the little you.
Yeah, exactly. Right. When I was younger,
so
one
cute.
of them can.
So cute,
the one that looks like me. He's crazy because not only does he look like me, he's got all of my weird, quirky tendencies, and like he's too young to be that Noah. So there's one that looks like me, one that looks like his mum, and he's just like
so
her.
So it's Noah
and Zayn.
And
Zayn is just like Yvette. Noah's just like me.
Remember my friend's picture?
Yeah, she looks exactly like it. That's Noah.
Oh
yeah.
my god.
And Noah has the same blood type as me, and Zayn has the same blood type as her.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
But they're twins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mad.
There you go. What else can you ask for?
Going back to the land down under.
Yes, please. We're locked in. I can't go back to the land down under now.
Yeah. Well, there's nowhere we can go. But thank you.
Thank you.
Partly because I need to get some air on me.
Me
because
too.
The AC is killing us here. I need to kind of get around this AC thing.
How much more water is there?
We need to do a number 2. For sure.
You need to do a number 2? Is that why you're cutting this?
Yeah, exactly. So we need to do a number 2.
Cutting this short.
And then
you need to do a number 2.
Maybe another episode after that. But yeah, it's been beautiful to have you on here. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for giving us your
I hope it's useful for people.
It's amazing because it's a different part of it. I feel like everyone on podcasts just wanted to know about.
Yeah.
What's
this?
I don't know. I just feel like if I do that, then I can't get anything wrong when I'm saying it.
Like everybody wants to know about this.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
What exactly?
This is the end of episode 7.
Yeah. And there'll be number 2 after the film.
Number 2, yeah, for sure. After you see me in the film, we'll talk about that.
After the sandy film.
I hope you guys always remember to wash your haram, and I'll see you later.
Peace. Thank you.